high protein keto mug cake utilizing two pretty interesting ingredients that may help us produce more ketones. Look, I don't always use a microwave, but I'm also not weird about not using a microwave. I'm not usually like hugging the thing while it's running. Okay, so this recipe is extremely simple. And the idea behind it is to keep it ridiculously low carb, but also try to level up ketone production. So we got some cool ingredients in there. So first thing I'm just gonna lay out on the line, you can use either almond flour or hazelnut flour. I'm a big fan of hazelnut flour, and I'm using a 1/4 cup, putting it into a large mug. I like hazelnut flour because it has a higher soluble fiber content, so just overall a little bit better for the gut, better for the short chain fatty acid production. Then I have 1 scoop of my favorite chocolate protein powder. You can use whey protein isolate. I would not recommend using a concentrate, or you can use some form of clean pea protein. Okay, so make it very simple. In this case, I have a whey protein isolate. Okay, let's go ahead and rock that in there. Okay, now here's a very important piece. Before you go any further, you really should mix this up. And what I would recommend is that you use like 2 to 3 tablespoons of what is called allulose. I recommend you use allulose in a liquid form because what it's going to do is it's going to allow you something to kind of mix along with these compounds here. So in this case, I'm going about 2 tablespoons of that. I'm going to mix that in. Again, you can eyeball it quite a bit. I'm going to use a fork actually. Okay, so you want that to get nice and kind of like clumpy. The next step is what's going to make it nice and fun. All right, now we're going to add 3 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. Why am I using heavy cream instead of, say, like half and half? Reason I'm using heavy cream is I want the higher milk fat content. I want what is called CLA. Okay, CLA does have some overall fat burning effects. Okay, it is in multiple studies has been suggested to have a nice steady improvement of weight loss when CLA is in the equation. So I'm not opposed to having heavy cream. I would actually rather have the heavy cream than half and half. So again, I can eyeball it because we're not making everything perfect here, but I'm gonna do probably about 3 tablespoons, maybe a little bit more. So again, we wanna mix that up. You wanna get it nice. There we go, nice and creamy. Now we start to get fun. So normally when you look at these mug cakes and things like this, they're using peanut butter. I don't wanna use peanut butter. I'm not opposed to it, but it's high in lectins, it's high omega-6 content. I want to use what is called coconut butter, okay? Now, this is going to be, usually cocoa butter is pretty hard, so okay, you're gonna have to kind of dig pretty good for it. But it's a different kind of butter. It's like peanut butter, except it's made from coconuts. So a lot of times it's called the peanut butter of the tropics because it is like a peanut butter. And normally, this one's a little bit hard, put just 1 tablespoon of that in there. Now we get into the star of the show. These are called Good Sam chocolate chips. Good Sam is an awesome company. So it's regeneratively farmed, totally vegan. It's made with allulose. Okay, so these chocolate chips here, the tiny little ones, they're sweetened with allulose. Now, allulose is about 70% as sweet as sugar. So when you see people adding more allulose to try to make it a little bit sweeter when they're baking with it, that is why, because it's not quite as sweet as sugar, which is nice because it doesn't have that super hyper palatability. Like sometimes with stevia, monk fruit, it's so hyper palatable, it like almost lights you up and makes you want to eat a bunch more. Good Sam's not really that way. Okay, only 1 gram of net carb in this stuff, but I also didn't just throw in chocolate chips, they have chocolate covered almonds, okay? So these chocolate covered almonds are following the same principle. Okay? Still super low carb, still regeneratively farmed, so super good for the farmers and for ultimately us that are eating it, right? So I'm gonna add those guys in. If you wanna check out Good Sam, there is a link down below for Thrive Market. So Thrive Market's where I found Good Sam. Awesome company, so online membership-based grocery store, and they're today's video sponsor. So Good Sam, you can get Good Sam products, whether it's gonna be their macadamia nuts, whether it's their chocolate chips, whether it's their chocolate-covered almonds, peanuts, cashews, and that link is down below so you can save 25% off your first order. Okay, awesome company. So make sure you check them out, and a thank you to Thrive Market for the sponsorship and the support on this channel, and thank you to Good Sam for making some awesome keto-friendly chocolate stuff. Okay, so mix that up. We're almost done here, okay? One more thing that's pivotal. Okay, we need a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. And again, I've done this enough times, I'm gonna eyeball it here. It is a very important piece because without the baking powder, it's not gonna rise. Okay, and last but not least, I have either unflavored or vanilla MCT oil powder. Okay, if you put straight up MCT oil in this, it would flatten out, it would come out kind of weird, okay? So, go ahead and add that in there. And another hot tip is if you let the cream get a little bit warmer before you put it in, it's gonna make it easier to help melt the coconut butter. So you really wanna mix that MCT oil powder in there really good. Make sure you get it really mixed, because if you don't mix it up super well, you're gonna have pockets where the baking powder didn't mix as well. Nice thing is, no weird raw ingredients. We're perfect on sweetness right there. Okay, now, you go 75 seconds. In the meantime, take a look at this footage of my dogs eating.
Good job, Terry, good job.
Oh, and if that's not enough, take a look at some footage of my son having a tantrum. And for those of you that are car fans, take a look at some Indy cars. Okay, that was fun to watch. Oh yeah. Looks like I added just the right amount of baking powder. Look at this. You getting that, Cam? Look at that. Look at how, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Yes, and I mixed it all properly. Now the big reveal. Ooh, I want one of those chocolate covered almonds. Oh, look at the almond in there with like ooey gooey chocolate all around the, oh my gosh. Okay, we're talking a couple of grams of net carbs in this. We're talking, if I had to add it up, 1 gram of net carb in a serving there, we got 2 servings there, so 2 grams of net carbs, the hazelnut flour. We're maybe in a serving of this, we're looking like 4 or 5 grams of net carbs. Okay. So good. And the vanilla, I use a vanilla MCT. That just gave it a really nice, look at this, just steaming up. It tastes, because I use hazelnut flour, it's got a much heavy, like buttery flavor. It almost, even though there is flour in it, it tastes like a flourless chocolate cake. It tastes like something I would get at like Maestro's or something. Like, it actually tastes really good. Yet this is completely fitting my macros. And I have the allulose, which is helping us out in terms of glucose metabolism. Okay, so allulose and glucose compete for the same, or they don't like the transport enzyme. So they compete for the same transporter. So when you have a little bit of carbohydrates in your system, the allulose potentially is making it so that those carbohydrates don't absorb, because the allulose is going to hop on the same transporter. So that brings glucose levels potentially down, which could drive up your ketone levels. And then we have the MCT in there that should drive up your ketone levels. So you might have been wondering, like, how is this a ketogenic other than just being the right macros? So anyway, make sure you check out Good Sam down below. Thank you for the sponsorship, Good Sam and Thrive. And keep it locked in here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow, and I'm gonna go eat this.